a little bit longer than the last, and all of your ways a little bit stronger.
No, I don't think about it, you know? It's weird. I guess you'd think that you would, in your shoes, you would think, man, I think about it all the time. I don't really think about it too much. I think about getting up and going to work, getting ready, getting the kids ready, getting them off to school, the task I have to do. Okay, I got to make it to the bathroom without tripping. I got to get in the shower without tripping. I got to get dried off without falling down. I mean, I think of that, but I don't think like, this disease is going to kill me tomorrow. I don't think of that. I think of, day to day. 97, I was hired here as a police officer, and it's been over 12 years now. And the fact that, become a cop, you work the street, and you're outside, you don't know what to expect on a daily basis. So the excitement of that, and along with also, being able to do your part and help people, is rewarding. When people need you, you're there to help them out. And but the excitement really is where it's at. And not knowing from time, you're on a midnight shift and not knowing what the next call could be, and you could sit all night and do nothing, but you never know. I always say when you're a cop, you don't get paid for what you do, you get paid for what you might have to do, And when an opportunity came to, when we were getting the police motorcycles, and that was like a dream of mine, who doesn't want to ride a police motorcycle, jumped at it. It's called the Highway Enforcement Team, and what we do is we just enforce all the traffic laws, and we basically, our main goal is speeding. And we just enforce the traffic laws and we were just doing basic enforcement on our own. Like whenever we didn't have to go to a specific location and do enforcement, it was kind of like go out and do your thing. So I just rode up and down City Avenue, and we made a lot of drug arrests back in the day when we were working real hard on City Avenue. So it was fun. Before that, in '06, like I said, I was working the speed team, and we would write ticket upon ticket upon ticket. And they're the small tickets, and you got to hold your pen. You got to write. And I'm a right-handed person, and I started to notice that my right arm was getting weaker. Like it wasn't holding the pen, and I'm like, is it just the cold? Because in the cold weather, it's even worse. And holding the pen, and then it would just be a pain for me to write. And I'm like, what is going on? I kind of blew it off for a little while, and then I noticed that if I grabbed my clipboard in my car, like my hand would cramp up. And I'm like, man, what's that? So I let that go for a little bit, and finally I went to a doctor, and so in '07 I was finally diagnosed with ALS, and that just blew me away. I mean, I was like floored, because when the doctor told me a month prior it could be ALS, like I didn't really know what it was. Like I knew Lou Gehrig's disease, I've heard of it, and I'm like, all right, I know it's not good, and I started looking it up on the internet, and that's probably the worst thing you can do. You start seeing all this stuff. Average, you usually die 2 to 5 years after your diagnosis. I'm like, I'm 37 years old. I got 2 kids, and this can't be happening. So you're going full denial. When I was diagnosed in '07, he said, call your HR and go on disability, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I was still my hand worked pretty well, not that great. But he's like, this disease, in 2 years you could be dead. She's like, you need to go do things, take care of yourself. And you know what? I'm like, no way, man, I'm fighting this. So I'm not going to roll over. And I believe that I bet you if I took his advice and stayed home, I probably would be dead by now, because you wither away, like my kids motivate me, the guys here, the camaraderie, coming to work, being able to contribute to something, just being able to, keep my mind, on something, and having somewhere to go, and continuing to say, you know what, yeah, it sucks, and it's a pain in the butt to get up in the morning, and trust me, I'm late a lot. because of it. And it takes me longer to get dressed, but I fight through it every day, because if I don't, I feel like if I stop, it'll just take me, I mean, my outlook on life has completely changed. I mean, you tell your kids you love them more, you find more time to be with your kids, whereas before I'd be like, I'm going out, I'll see you guys tomorrow. No, I'm going to spend time with you now, and as much time as I can with you now, and little things, you don't sweat the small, like you say, you don't, the small stuff. Don't worry about it. Live day to day. With this disease, like, I have a bad limp, and it's getting worse. And I know soon I'll probably be, in some type of wheelchair or some type of a scooter or something. But as long as my left hand stays fine, I can still, do a lot of stuff like type and write. Learn to write with my left hand. I learned to shoot with my left hand, and I qualified last year with my left hand, which was pretty cool. I was pretty psyched about that, because I was able to still carry. I was the type of guy that did everything himself. And at first, like I said, it was hard for me to accept help from people. And I talked to another patient who said, if you keep telling people no, there's going to be a time where they stop asking. And then when you really need it, they're not going to be there. So I realized that, and and people have been great, as far as knowing that I need help, and finally I'm able to say, yeah, what, absolutely. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Can you do fold my laundry? Can you carry the basket upstairs for me? Stuff like that. And my neighbors will call up and be like, hey, I'm going to the pet store. You need dog food. Yeah, pick me up a 40-pound bag and they'll carry it in for me. And that's huge, because I can't do that shit. I physically can't do it. It kind of sucks. A grown man. I'm like almost 40, and I can't pick up a 40-pound bag of dog food. Yeah, it's tough. So, but people want to do it. They're willing to help, and that's another thing. You don't realize that people out there that are good. There's a lot of good people out there. I mean, in my job, as a cop, you see the bad in people constantly. Every once in a while you see the good in some people, but mostly it's all bad. All bad. And you kind of get tainted, and you kind of think, what, this world sucks. You see the news every night, things are bad. There are so many good people out there. This has opened up my eyes to the fact that there are so many good people, and they're willing to do anything for you. Last weekend I went dirt bike riding with my kid on my quad. So I rode for 4 hours. I was sore as shit for a day, my back and my arms, but you know what? Afterwards, I was like, I just got done. I said, here we are, 2 years later. The doctor wanted me to go on disability. I'm just getting off a dirt bike. Right, I was on it's a quad. I can't ride a motorcycle anymore, but I rode a quad. My buddy moved the throttle to my left side so I can use it, and rode all day. My kid had, it was just great, because he rides a 70. You get to ride around with him. And I enjoyed sitting back and watching him ride. That to me is a great day. It was beautiful out. And finally, once you work through those 5 stages of grief, you finally get to acceptance. And it took me over a year, but I'm finally there.
Doesn't matter what comes crashing down, I'm still gonna stand my solid.